So it's Tom Brady's birthday today. He turns 44 years old.
Yeah,
any ideas what we should get Tom for his birthday? What do you buy Tom Brady for his birthday?
I'm not buying him anything.
Yeah, me either.
He doesn't. I'm no way. I'm not getting Tom Brady anything.
Bruce Arians got him something.
What did he get him?
He gave him the day off. He said Tom Brady's one of the hardest working men in sports. He turns 44 years old today. He's got 7 Super Bowl rings, 5 Super Bowl MVP awards, a resurgent career with the Bucs, an ironclad Hall of Fame case, millions of dollars, a beautiful wife, and 3 children. So he's got it all. And the only thing that Bruce Arians could give him that had any value to it was a day off. And the thing that I find funny about this is that Tom Brady shares a birthday with one of his teammates, Ronald Jones.
Yeah.
And I don't know this for sure either way, but I would venture to guess that Ronald Jones does not get the day off.
I would venture to guess the same. Ronald Jones definitely did not get the day off today. I can promise you that.
So in honor of Tom Brady and the return of some form of football this week, we're getting the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, the Cowboys and the Steelers. I want to select 3 dark horse candidates that we believe could win NFL MVP. So basically what this means by dark horse is we can't pick from the obvious names. The obvious names being Lamar Jackson, who's won an MVP recently, Patrick Mahomes, same thing, Tom Brady, even though he's 44 years old and it would be miraculous. Everything that he does is miraculous. It wouldn't really be a surprise if he were to win. Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. Those are the guys that are at the top of the odds list on Vegas. All the names I just mentioned. Kyler Murray isn't up there with those guys, but he should be. So I'm going to throw him on this list. That to me feels too obvious to be a dark horse. But I'll take anybody else other than the names that I just mentioned as our 3 candidates for dark horse MVP of the 2021 NFL season.
So we have to choose 3 guys between the 2 of us, because I think you give me your 3 and I give you my 3.
That's what I'm thinking.
And then we'll pick 3 that land from there.
Okay, so you want to go, you nominate 3 guys.
Yeah.
I nominate 3 guys, and then we'll decide who the final 3 are.
Right, I think that's how we should.
Okay, sounds good. And then I will post that on Twitter as our in the zone, definitive, agreed upon consensus top 3 dark horse MVP candidates.
Absolutely.
All right, Stefan, you can nominate 1 player first.
Okay, so the first guy that I'm going to nominate, this is going to be dependent on him actually getting the starting job. But if he gets the starting job for his organization, I truly, honestly believe that he has an opportunity to be a dark horse MVP. That, my friends, is Trey Lance. Trey Lance, with that San Francisco 49ers team, if everything clicks the way that it's supposed to click and everybody's firing on all cylinders, I think Trey Lance can be a serious dark horse candidate for MVP in the NFL.
I'll write that one down. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I think that that's probably a stretch because if he's outstanding, more likely he's going to end up getting Rookie of the Year, and there'll be somebody else that's in that ballpark of performance. He's not going to outplay everybody in the league by that much to where they would feel comfortable giving him that award and not an MVP award. I don't think we've ever seen a rookie win. But with that said, I thought about his name earlier.
Did you really?
Because I love the fit. I think he's got a tremendous amount of talent. He's one of those guys win MVP in today's NFL. One, you have to be a quarterback for the most part. So he's got that part down. And unless you are like Aaron Rodgers and your efficiency is just otherworldly, and there are only a couple of guys that really have the ability to do that, you have to be dual threat. In the way that Russell Wilson was running away with it for a while, Kyler Murray was right there. Those guys that can do multiple things feel like better MVP candidates because they're really putting their team on their back. Trey Lance has that ability, and he's got a really good team around him.
Very good.
So they're going to win games. If you look at the teams that are going to be winners, that will have star players and somebody that's going to be anointed as the most valuable on the team. It sounds crazy. I actually don't think that's a crazy nomination.
Listen, he was, like I said, as long as he's starting, he's that guy that I'm swinging for the fences and says he could be a surefire dark horse candidate. I don't know how surefire a dark horse candidate is, but if there is one, he's it.
Well, mine is going to be a little bit more surefire than that because we're talking about somebody that is already established as a starter and also plays the quarterback position. For the record, not all three of my nominations are quarterbacks.
Of course not. I bet you I can guess the one that's not, but go right ahead.
All right. Well,
actually, I probably can't. All right, go ahead.
Oh, you know what? I know who you're thinking. Are you thinking Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah, of course.
He
I'm
should have
thinking
made my
Christian
list. He didn't make my list.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. You got to win games, though. You don't win MVP unless you win
That's
games.
true.
By the way, breaking news, just finding out right now, the Bulls are landing DeMar DeRozan.
Wow.
We'll talk about that later on.
The Bulls are putting together a squad
They
right now.
are.
Wow.
Interesting what's going on with Nick Vucevic over there. My nomination, my first, is Justin Herbert. He feels like the next in this long line of quarterbacks now that are entering their second year, go out and play at an MVP level, taking their game. If he takes his game from what we saw last year to the next level, a lot of people are predicting that he either remains flat, he kind of plateaus 1 year to the next, where he's better at some things, worse at others. I've seen some people say that he's going to actually regress and get worse from where he was last year, kind of a sophomore slump after coming out of the gate hot. But if he gets better from where he was last year and the Chargers win games, I guarantee you he'll be in the conversation for NFL MVP. Second year in the league, Lamar Jackson did it, and Patrick Mahomes did it. So Justin Herbert feels like the next guy.
I think Justin Herbert, now I agree with you. He's definitely got all of those parameters, and he's got the walkway is there for him to walk himself into that MVP conversation. He's an easy choice to me, though. He's an easy choice based on the team that he's got around him and how hot he came out that first season. I do have to see what he does with this second season, though, because that first season can always be an anomaly.
Yeah.
And the second season is really hard to follow up. Now, normally players who do have somewhat of a sophomore slump, if they're still stars anyway, they bounce back in year three. But we'll see if he can survive that year.
No, I agree. That is the least I will stretch to give you a nomination. That was low-hanging fruit at its very core.
So my second nominee for Dark Horse MVP is going to be our boy Matthew Stafford. I really believe that Matthew Stafford has put himself in a position to be viewed in a way that people have not yet looked at him. When we look at Matthew Stafford, we always looked at him because he was in Detroit and we knew the kind of team he had around him. We looked at him as the guy that's dependable. He's going to give you what he's going to give you, but their team's not really going to go that far. Now that he's in LA, now that he's got this new team around him, he's got the opportunity to transcend way far and beyond all of our expectations. And if he can find himself towards that playoff picture and looking like the outstanding team that he could possibly have around him, I think he might be on the conversation for him.
And to add to that, this is a team that was probably going to rely on their running backs, not a ton. This is still a Sean McVay offense, where it's going to be primarily what the quarterback's able to do. But Cam Akers was looking really strong at the end of last year. I think they were going to lean on him a bit in that offense, where you would have taken some of those MVP points away throughout the course of the year. But with him not in the picture, unfortunately for the Rams, that's more pressure on Matt Stafford. I love the team the Rams have built around Stafford. I think they're the second best roster in the NFC behind the Tampa Bay Bucks. They are the biggest threat. And if Matt Stafford comes out and plays at an MVP level with an actual team around him, he's played good quarterback in the past.
He really has.
He's just always been surrounded by guys wearing Lions helmets. Yeah. So what does it look like when he's actually on a good team? That's a really strong nomination. The number 2 on my list is also a quarterback, is Ryan Tannehill. He's a guy that has been – did you have him?
No, I didn't have him, but he's an obvious choice.
So he's been widely overlooked the last couple of years because he hands the ball off to a cyborg named Derrick Henry, who had 2,000 yards last year. But this guy's had over 800 touches over the last 2 seasons. They've got to give Derrick Henry a break, and they brought in somebody to help that endeavor. We're talking about Julio Jones. So now Ryan Tannehill, who's been an effective quarterback for the last couple seasons, has A.J. Brown entering his pivotal third year. That's typically the year of breakout for wide receivers, entering the third year alongside a guy that might be slightly out of his prime, but Julio Jones has not lost a step. This guy is still one of the best receivers in the NFL, and he's one of the greatest receivers of all time.
Without a doubt.
So he's got those two guys to throw the ball to. I think they'll give Derrick Henry just a couple less carries than they have the last couple of seasons. And their offensive coordinator's gone, so maybe they won't lean on him as much with that. But I'm going to go Ryan Tannehill my second nominee.
I love Ryan Tannehill as a dark horse MVP, and I actually put him more in the Kyler Murray category than I do in the dark horse category, because I can easily see Ryan Tannehill, what he's shown us over the course of the last few seasons is that he can be in that conversation easily if all of the stars align and everything goes his way. And we're not in a season where those stars can't align for him, especially with the schedule that they have.
Oh my God, and that's the thing. That was one of the notes that I wrote down. That their division sucks.
Yes.
So the Titans are going to win games this year, and it kind of puts him back in that. One of the reasons I say he's a dark horse is just because we don't typically give Tannehill that star treatment.
We don't.
But he's been playing like it the last couple of years. I think this is going to be a really productive season for him.
So my third nominee for dark horse NFL MVP, and he is a quarterback. All of my nominees were quarterbacks. Tua Tagovailoa.
Whoa!
Of the Miami Dolphins.
Welcome aboard the bandwagon. This is phenomenal. I will sit back. You have my ear, my friend.
So listen, Tua is in a very special situation right now. And although there are some questions about whether he's going to be able to carry this team to the promised land as he's been expected to when he was drafted, they gave him time. They gave him an opportunity to sit, understand the scheme, understand the organization, understand the playbook. And we know that was very important to him. Not only that, everything coming out of camp is saying that he's better than he was last year. He's more assertive than he was last year. He has a better handle on the playbook. He's taking control of the offense, and he's doing everything that you want somebody to do in their second year if they're going to be a star quarterback. You add to that the fact that this team went 10-6 with him and Ryan Fitzpatrick as their quarterbacks, and they were not a phenomenal tandem as QBs in the NFL. If Tua takes that next step or next step and a half in this next season, and this team stays productive around him and gives him the opportunity to be highlighted in the spotlight in some of these major games that they will have coming up, there's no reason he can't be in the MVP.
You see this right here? You know what this is? These are the keys.
They're the keys to the bandwagon.
They're all yours, Stefan. I agree with everything that you just said. I left them off my list because I'm like, come on, don't be that big of a fanboy. You get a whole segment dedicated to Tua today. Number 3 on my list is Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns. Let's give a little bit of love to the defense. The Browns have a lot of room to grow when it comes to what they're doing on the defensive side, but they ranked middle of the pack last year. They made some key additions in the offseason on the defensive side. They had Malik Jackson in the middle of that defensive line, and we forget about one of these big moves. Jadeveon Clowney's on the opposite side of Myles Garrett, and so now you've got to pay attention to Clowney. Myles Garrett last year, even though he missed a couple of games, still racked up 12 sacks. That was good enough for 6th in the NFL, and he played less games than everybody in front of him on that list. If the Browns are as good as they're expected to be this year, we're not going to credit Baker all that much. The running game is going to be a big reason why, and the defense. And so if Myles Garrett can set a sack record, which I think he has the ability to do.
He definitely does.
This is the year where it could happen. They're going to be really good. We'll credit the defense. Myles Garrett at the top of that heap. And if we give anybody that sort of defensive kudos to where they end up in an MVP conversation, I think it'll be Myles Garrett.
And here's the other thing with Myles Garrett. If he can do that, if he can set sack records, if he can show himself to be a premier defensive line edge rusher guy with the division that he's sitting in, if he can do that with sacks against Ben Roethlisberger, sacks against the Bengals, sacks against the Ravens, if he can do that with those teams that he has to play twice throughout the course of the year, then he can definitely set himself up.
All right. Well, we need to
play
3 names. All right. Well, I did deliver 2 pretty obvious ones. Justin Herbert, I think, needs to be on our final list of 3. Tannehill, maybe. I think for sure. You had Matt Stafford.
Matt
Stafford needs to be on the list.
I had Stafford, Lance, and Tua. I think Tannehill definitely needs to be on.
Now, does anybody need to be deleted off the list because they're too obvious? Because I would say that the list of the least dark horsey are Herbert, Tannehill, who I provided, and Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
Those names aren't that big of a stretch.
I would probably take Herbert off because he's less dark horsey than anybody else, based on what he was able to do on his hot start. Maybe also Matthew.
Yeah,
I was going to say maybe also Matthew Stafford.
So who would you rather keep on your list, Trey Lance or Tua? Who do you feel better about between those two?
Oh man, between those two, I would probably, if I was betting, I would bet on Tua before I bet on Trey Lance.
Okay.
But I just really like having Trey Lance on that list. But yeah, we'll go Tua,
Tannehill,
Garrett,
and
Myles Garrett. Yeah.